So let's start with the first question. We'll start with you, Britt. Why did you choose Canador?
Personally, I chose Canador because of the program that I'm into and that I'm in. It was, this is one of the only programs in Canada that is run the way it is run at Canador. It's really educational, it's really hands-on, and the whole college is very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Just so supportive and so beautiful. We live in northern Ontario, which is absolutely gorgeous. So overall, it was just the campus where we're situated, the program, the support staff, and just the overall energy of the whole place. It's very supportive and welcoming, I would guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks. Chinmay, why did you choose Canador?
So as Brett said, the campus is really close to nature. Is something that I wanted as of my college. So we have since Canadore was more closer to the nature and the wildlife. It was in my priority list. Before joining Canadore, I did some research about the professors as well, and the professors that teach at Canada, even though they are part-time, they have a 10-year or a minimum 7-year experience in the subjects that they are teaching. So they are usually working in that field, and then they teach from their experience. So that is, I'll say, a huge added bonus when it comes to gaining experience and valuable information from professors.
Fantastic. And Nellie, what about you? What drew you to Canador?
When I was doing research for programs, the Canadore College program had really, really good reviews, as well as they had a lot of things put in the one program, so I didn't have to get additional knowledge from other places.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go to the next question. How much time do you spend outside of class working on assignments? So let's ask Britt first.
Sorry, I walked out. I need to go get my glasses. I couldn't see. Um, but I think it depends on the time of year and the time of semester. Um, you can spend anything from 10 hours a week to 20 hours a week, depending on assignments, depending on exams and all of that. It's really doable. I think it's really easy to manage if you learn how to like manage your time and stuff, which we do put on workshops to kind of help everyone out with that. Uh, so I would say right now we're in finals. I'm doing a lot more. There's a lot more assignments to do. There's a lot more exams to study for, but it's all worth it in the end. You always feel so welcomed at this college and in the space that we're in. So it's worth it, and it feels good when you get everything done and you're done your semester and you finish on a high note. So I would say roughly from 10 to 20 hours, depending on program and time of year.
That's fair. And how about you, Chinmay? How much time do you spend outside of class?
Outside of class, I would say 6 to 7 hours a week behind assignments that they have, like every assignment that we have. Um, Most of the programs I think might have like 5 subjects or 6 subjects in one semester. And if you think from the subject point of view, every assignment would either take 1.5 hour. In my program, it's usually the case 1.5 hour should be more than enough to complete the entire assignment, because the professor also gives you the research content, so you don't really have to go finding for like do your own research and find the answer. So you already have everything. You just have to kind of review and then prepare your own answers and then just formalize it. So 5 to 6 or maybe 7 hours a week behind assignments is enough, I guess.
Okay. And Nelly, did you want to share how much time you spent working on assignments?
Sure. Yeah, so my program had a lot of in-class time to work on our assignments and things like that. So we were pretty limited with take home. I would say we probably did maybe 2 or 3 hours a week.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next up, talking about textbooks, what can students expect? So are textbooks expensive? Is it better to buy brand new or used? What do you guys think? Britt, we'll start with you, same order.
Uh, First of all, I'm quite jealous that everyone doesn't have 10 to 20 hours a week. Maybe I need to join those time management seminars. But anyway, again, I think, you know, for my program specifically, we get handed out a lot of documents in class. We do have books. We have the bookstore as well. I've bought my books on Amazon. I bought them secondhand. I've gone to the library and I use them if they're there. You know, things can get pretty pricey in this economy these days. So when you can find like the PDF version versus the physical form, maybe that's a better option for you in case, you know, you don't have all the funds for it or anything like that. We're pretty relaxed, I think, on textbooks. You know, you can find a lot of stuff online these days in PDFs. I know for my program, that's kind of what it is. We also get a lot of just handouts and documents from our professors' work, past work and stuff. So, yeah.
Totally. Thank you. Chinmay, what do you think for your program?
Ordering from Amazon is one resource that I can suggest, but the college also has the bookshop that rents out physical copies of textbooks. Even though they are limited, you can get physical copies. Like instead of purchasing them from the bookshop, you can rent them out, which is way cheaper. And you can rent them out for the entire semester. So that is one resource. The library also has a lot of resources and a lot of books. You might not be able to get the same edition that the professor requires, but an edition older should not make a lot of difference. Apart from that, in my particular program and the programs of entrepreneurship academy, I've seen that there's only one textbook which is required by all the professors. So let's say if I'm doing project management, the PMP project management professional textbook is the only textbook that each and every professor recommends to refer. So like having just one textbook is more than enough, and most of the professors do give out PDFs of the textbook, so you don't really have to buy anything in terms of textbooks or resources. The professor gives you everything.
Awesome. That's great to know. Nellie, what do you remember of your textbooks? What did you usually do? Buy brand new, rent? What was your option of choice?
I bought used as often as I could, and I also sold all my textbooks kind of one big lump sum to a student this year. So I would say buy used when you can. Be careful with that though, because some textbooks they have new editions for new years and they can sometimes have different content. So I would always run it by your professors first before you buy used to make sure that those are still up to date.
That's a great tip. Thanks so much.
All right, let's talk about food on campus. How is the food on campus, and where are the best places to eat off campus? I guess it would depend on the which campus it is. So let's start again with Britt.
All right. Food is okay. It's good on campus. You know, the cafeteria has a lot of different options. There's Subway, there's home cooked meals, there's pizza, there's sandwiches, there's snacks. So there's fruit. So there's a lot of options that you can kind of go for. There's also Twigs, which is like a little coffee shop in North Bay, and they're also really good. They have great coffee. They get to know your face, so I've been there a lot, so they always say hi to me and stuff. And yeah, so that's for school. I think my favorite place out in North Bay, out and about. Things can get pretty expensive these days, so I honestly don't really go out to eat all that much. I do go to like Freshco or Food Basics to buy my groceries, just because it's a little bit cheaper than like Sobeys or Metro or something. I also have a car, so I'm able to kind of navigate that a little easier. But I know No Frills is also a cheap option that is close to school. It's just down the road on McEwen. So there are some really good options for grocery shopping. um, the Sub place is also a really good spot for sandwiches. I would say that
Oh,
one.
that's a very good point. You can always do groceries, buy your own ingredients and cook so you can save money, especially during these times. Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
And how about you, Chinmay?
So about food options, the food options at the main campus, as Brit said, they have a lot of food options. I would say they have a wok section which has like Chinese food. They have noodles and stuff. They have a rice station, I think, which where you can get rice bowls, wraps, and stuff. You have pizza. You have Subway. You have Starbucks inside, where you can get coffee from. So if you like fancy drinks, you can get Starbucks from the campus. Outside, if you want to eat, it depends on what you want to eat. There are Asian cuisine, there is cuisine, there is Indian cuisine, there is Mexican cuisine. um and if you want like Canadian, if you want to try the local shops that has like the Canadian culture food, North Bay has that as well. So in terms of food, um I'll say even though it's a small city, there are a lot of options. It's just that these days everything is expensive. So going out to eat is a decision that you might have to rethink, I think, thrice or five times, and then go out to eat. And as Brett said, there are many places you can go grocery shopping. Like there's Sobeys, there's No Frills, there's Metro, there's Food Basic, there's a Walmart, there's Walmart. So like there's everything. Depends on what's closer to you and what you can afford. It's all on you. So should not be much of a concern in my opinion.
Oh, good. And we also have the two new Indian supermarkets in town, right?
Oh yes. So yeah. So if you are worried about getting Indian spices, North Bay has two new Indian spice shops. One's called Spice Village, and one is Videsi. So they have everything that you might need in terms of your Indian cravings, if I term it in that way.
Thank you. And let's hear from Nelly.
Yeah, the campus, like they said, has lots of food options, pizza, home cooked meals, Subway. I would say I'm probably more for the Twigs section, just like Britt had kind of said. So I spend a lot of time there. And same thing, they're very friendly. They get to know you. It's nice. As far as off campus, yeah, I typically do most of my groceries at No Frills. I find that's the cheapest option, the best option. I also don't eat out too much, but I mean, I do sometimes go to the Moose for special occasions for wings, and it's absolutely delicious.
All right. Yeah, that's also something good to mention is No Frills and Freshco. These are cheaper grocery stores compared to the others, right? Yeah, thank you very much. Moving on.
Oh, can I add one more point?
Yeah.
So since we are talking about grocery shopping, if you are living in the residence offers weekly grocery buses. So every, I think, Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have special buses that will pick you up from the residence and they'll drop you off at No Frills. And then maybe I think 1 hour later, they'll come again, pick you up from the No Frills, and they'll drop you back to residence. So if you are in like residence, you are lucky enough to have like a bus service, especially for your groceries on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's a plus point.
That's really good to know. Thanks, Chinmay. Okay, our next question. Is there anything you learned about Canadore only after you started classes that you wish you would have known before starting? We'll do the same order.
It's a heavy question. I think I wish I knew how much support that they offered, like seminars like this, panels with other students. I wish I knew like how great I don't know if this sounds weird, but I wish I knew how great the faculty here were and how supportive they were. Because I moved up north. I moved to North Bay alone, and I've done that before in the past. But was for school, and it was really um, stressful to say the least. And I wish I knew about all of this extra support before class started, and just uh, how much support and help that they give to new students and returning students to help them succeed. And we put on a lot of workshops to help people succeed, and that's something that I wish I knew prior, so I could um, kind of just keep going to them before it was a little too late in the semester. Um, but yeah, just I wish I knew about all like how great it was and how supportive it was, so I wouldn't be so stressed out, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What about you, Chinmay?
Um, some things that there's a couple of different things. In terms of the education, um, since I did my research and I knew the professors had a good experience, like good 7 years of experience. I didn't think them to be very kind and very down to earth when it comes to questions and concerns. Um, they are more than happy to help you out even after classes. They'll schedule like Zoom meetings if you're not able to make to classes and you have questions before the exams. So that kind of support from the professors is just amazing. Other than that, since I wanted to join a college which is close to nature, I did not expect Canada to be this close to the nature. Like the trails that we have just behind the campus, like 15 kilometers of just walking trails, which leads to a beautiful waterfall. It's just amazing. Like you have two different lakes you can go to, which is a 15-minute bus drive, and the bus pass is included, so it's a free 15-minute drive from college. That is amazing. Apart from that, as Brit said, there are so many sessions for be it career development, be it entertainment, be it recreational activities. There's everything, something that is going on in college, and you as a student can participate and just be an active student is something that I didn't expect me to be this active, but there's so much to do in college, and it's just fun.
Definitely. That's a great answer. And Nelly.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but I'd probably have to agree with Britt. I didn't really realize how supportive all the faculty and staff are. And like anything you need help with, whether it be in school, outside of school, whatever, there is a resource at the college that can help you with it. And yeah, it's really great.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right. Next question. What are the course instructors like? How are they? How do you find them?
My instructors and professors are absolutely amazing. They're very accommodating. They're very just overall welcoming. My program is very heavy at times. We do a lot of writing. We have a lot of writing in it and a lot of research and all these things. So it's really nice when you walk into a room and they welcome you and they know you. I also am in a really small program, so I guess it's a little bit different than bigger programs. But yeah, they're so welcoming and so kind and helpful. And like Jimne said, they kind of help you even after classes. They'll email you right back, or they'll meet up with you and have coffee with you so you can talk about something. And yeah, they're just really welcoming, really friendly, and just overall great people.
Thank you. What do you think, Chinmay?
As I think I've already covered a lot of points about professors, but apart from the professors, the program coordinators who are one of who is one of the professor who teaches you. When it comes to any concern about the program, you can just email them and then they'll look into it. So that is another thing in terms of how the professors are. So it's really helpful. What else can I think of? In class, if you're going late, which happens to me a lot, you can just email them a simple email saying that, just to inform you that I'm running 30 minutes late. um, so that way they know that you're late, and they don't really mind it, until and unless you make it a habit. So in terms of professors, they're just great, I would say. And even like, this is my second program, I'm still connected with the professors that I had during my first year. And if you show them the right enthusiasm and the right direction that you're going to, they might help you after your course is ended as well. Some of the professors right now are guiding me in order to how to get on with the career that I want to get into. So getting the right advice, or if you ask them about the career path options, they will never say no, and they will always give you some kind of input which will help you out.
Okay, so don't hesitate to contact your teachers, your professors, right? Especially if you're running late. But again, as Chinmay said, don't uh, do it as often, right? And did you want to add anything else, Nelly?
Not really. My professors were also amazing. Same thing. Any issues, talk to them and they'll work with you. Um, yeah, they're really great.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, talking about working while going to school. So can you work and go to school part-time, or can you work part-time and still go to school? I think is probably the better wording.
You sure can. I work as a line cook. I work roughly like 20 hours a week. You don't need to, you know, you don't need to overextend yourself, but it is very doable. Obviously it's really important to find a job that accommodates your schooling, and it's important to remember that schooling is first and your education is first, because a part-time job might not be your future job. So just really invest in your future, put yourself first. But it is really doable to have a part-time job just to cover, food expenses or rent, or it depends on your circumstance. But I have a part-time job. My first semester I didn't have a job. I came back to school later, so I had some money saved up, so I didn't need to work my first semester and overextend myself and overstress myself out. But last year in the winter I got a job, and I'm still with them. And yeah, there's also a lot of really amazing opportunities to work with the school in the summer, which I also did. It was kind of life-changing. I made some really good lifelong friends, so it was a really awesome opportunity. But there's a lot of work within the school as well. I have two part-time jobs, I guess, because I work with the school as well. So it does get overwhelming. I don't recommend it for everyone. If there's a lot on your plate, might, kind of suss things out first, but it is doable. You know, you're not alone if you have to have two jobs or anything. So yeah.
Chinmay?
Yeah, you can definitely work while you study. I work as well. I work part time, but I keep my hours limited under 20 hours. Just because there's two reasons: the IRCC guidelines, and then I also need to focus on college. So it's important that you um like you give more importance to the education rather than working part time. Also, as Britt said, it's your part time gig and it's not a full time opportunity that you're getting into. So, taking a lot of stress from your part time work and then letting that affect your grades in school is something that you should really be concerned about. So, that is one thing. And apart from the summer positions that open up in college, the college hires students under the work study program every semester. So there's, I think, 50 to 60 positions open for the students to get into. So always keep that thing in your mind, that every semester they're going to hire new students for to fill in the positions to help out students to earn some money in order to pay the expensive rent, I guess. But yeah, other than that, you can definitely work, but just keep yourself limited to the requirements, and then make sure you're living the college life and not the adult life where you earn and not study and have fun in college.
And Nelly, what do you think on the topic?
Yeah, I feel like Britt and Chimney are doing a great job answering all the questions. I have not a lot to add, but again, yeah, like you can work part-time for sure. Like Britt said, make sure you kind of evaluate like how much you can take on personally. Um, and there are a lot of opportunities within the college too. I got to work as a peer tutor during my studies, so I really enjoyed that. Um, but yeah.
Awesome. Chinmay, what you want to add something?
Yeah, so since you're talking about work, since you are coming as a new student for the first semester, it is very likely that you might not get a job. Um, so it is important to think that when you land in like into a completely new place, you will not be able to get a job. At most for the first 4 months. If you get it before 4 months, that's amazing. But if you do not stress out that you're not able to land a job, which is a part-time gig. So that thing, and then make sure that let's say you are getting into a part-time opportunity, try to align it with your course outcomes or the study that you're doing. In that way, the part-time opportunity that you do or the part-time job you do has an impact on your resume, and that way it helps you out when you go out looking for your full-time opportunities. So for instance, let's say I'm doing project management and let's say I'm working at McDonald's. I'm not, but let's say I'm working at McDonald's. Then my future thing, let's say if I want to get into project management, the part-time job that I did as a customer service associate or the line cook will not make any sense into project management. So get into part-time opportunities which align with your courses. That way you at least have some kind of backup on your resume that states that you have worked in similar fields, and get you full-time opportunities easier, or you have an upper hand when it comes to other employees.
It's a great point. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we have another panelist that was able to join us. So, Jessica, if you don't mind, just giving a quick oh my goodness, sorry, introduction of yourself, your name, program, year of study, your title within CSC.
Hi, sorry for being late. I was having plenty of technical difficulties on my end, but my name is Jessica Crook. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a graduate from the Environmental Technician program and a current student in the Environmental Management program. And this year I'm serving as the CSC president, and last year I served as the VP of Student Life on Candor Student Council.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jessica. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, so next question. I think we touched on that a little bit earlier, but what happens if you miss a class or you are late for showing up? So I guess the first part, perhaps. What happens if you miss a class? Go ahead.
I mean, it's not the end of the world. A lot of things can happen, and it's just really about communicating with your professors, emailing them, letting them know that you won't be in because you have an appointment or you're not feeling well, and or if you're going to be late, just emailing them and saying, hey, I'm going to be late today, blah blah blah. Also, if you're leaving class early, just to shoot them an email. Don't just leave. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about that in a respectful way. Obviously, don't make it a habit. I think that is fair to say. But things happen. People get sick. It's kind of cold season right now, so a lot of people are getting sick. And if you're not feeling well, stay home. Just for you to make yourself feel better. Have some soup. But yeah, don't overdo yourself. Just make sure that you have that communication and talk to your professors. They're there to help you. They're there to accommodate your needs. And then if anything, if you really don't want to miss class, what I've done in the past, I've FaceTime a friend and they put me on FaceTime in my seat and I was there for class, but I was in bed. So there's also so many ways that you can go around that. Yeah, just communicate and talk to your friends in class and yourself or your professor, excuse me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um,
Did you want to add, just before we go to Chinmay, Jessica wanted to say something?
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to add the portion of lab time. In certain programs, you will have lab hours, which are mandatory for you to attend. I know that for my program specifically, and other programs like biotech and nursing and etc., if you miss 2 labs in one of your courses, you can get a 0 on that course. So there is academic penalty when it comes to missing those lab times, unless it's for extenuating circumstances like you have a medical emergency or you have COVID or something along those lines. And then you have to disclose that to your professor. And sometimes they will make accommodations for you to do that lab if you give them notice of you have a doctor's appointment on that lab, for instance, and you can maybe switch it to a different time so that way you don't miss out. But just to give that disclaimer, most professors will also give you that disclaimer, but if you miss 2 labs, then you can get a 0 on your grade.
That's very important to know. Thank you very much for adding that. So let's go to Chinmay.
So I think everything's covered, but I'd like to mention one point. So whenever a new program starts, or let's say on the first day of every class, during the new semester, the professor goes over a document which is known as program outline or course outline, which has the weekly schedule of what they are going to teach. So they already designed the schedule for the entire 14 weeks. So you know that during, let's say, week 8 they are going to teach this particular topic from the textbook. So if you are not able to make it to classes, you can just ask the professor that apart from the week 8 schedule that you have already sent, did you teach anything more? Just in case they have and they covered, they'll send you the material like in the mail itself. So even if you miss a class due to some kind of emergency, you're not really missing out on the content that they covered, because you know what they taught, and they'll also give you feedback on that as well. So that's a plus point when it comes to the professors, because they already have everything planned out.
All right, thank you. Perhaps next person would like to answer that. Nelly or
Yeah. I would just like to add, like, as everyone else kind of said, make sure you let your professors know when you're not going to be there, if you're late, early, any of that. But also a good idea to do, which my professors really liked, is when we kind of like buddied up with another student. So if I knew I was going to be away, kind of getting my friend to take notes for me, or let me know of anything that I missed, just so it's not always on the professor to catch people up. So yeah.
very true. Yeah.
These
And
are all
thank
really great points. Our next question about residence versus off-campus housing. What do you prefer? What do you think is better? What works for you in your experience? Yeah, let's start. We'll start with Britt and kind of follow that order again.
I can't speak for residents. I've never lived there. I was lucky enough to find a 1-bedroom apartment for myself, with my cat. I don't know where she is, but so I personally enjoy living in town. I get to have that separation from school, and then my other life, like work life, and just other life with friends that I've made throughout different opportunities. I am a returning student. I'm technically called a mature student. So I wasn't out of high school when I came to North Bay. And I've lived alone before, and I've just experienced a lot of things. So I didn't feel the need that I needed to go to residence and be in that kind of establishment. I think it's a really awesome opportunity to meet friends and to network and to just live with someone. So I think it's really important to do it if you're maybe uncomfortable or stressed out or all those things. But I personally love living downtown. It does get a little funny at night. So it's nice that I'm on the second floor. I'm not right on the streets. But it is great to live downtown. I have a lot of friends that I've made just by going to different events and stuff in town. So I personally really enjoy, and I get to live with my cat, which was really important to me. So yeah, it's great. Downtown is great. But I also recommend going to residence if you are stressed out and nervous. You can do that for the first year and then move on to finding a house or apartment or something um, downtown in your next year.
Totally. Chinmay, what are your thoughts?
I can answer both. I lived in the residence for 6 months, and now I'm living off campus. Living So if you let's say especially if you are an international student coming to a completely new country, and especially North Bay, where it's in the northern Ontario and not southern Ontario, it's two different, completely different situations. I would recommend living in the residence for the first semester at least. You get to meet a lot of people, you make new friends, you socialize, you network, and the residence is literally a 5 minute bus drive from the college, and you have buses like every 20 minutes. So you can either go to the you can either go to the college in 5 minutes, or you can go downtown in like 15 minutes. So that's a plus point living in residence. You have your individual room, you have a full kitchen that you share. So in terms of privacy, you do have your own room, so it's private enough. But living off campus is another fun, I would say, because you get the whole house. So you're living as, I would say, a mature individual where you handle everything on your own. Um, Again, it has its downsides. It does get kind of lonely because you come back home and there's like just two of you in the house, and not the 4 or 5 people living in residence, and if nobody's really around you, so you kind of feel that you might feel lonely. But again, it's way more quiet and way more, I would say, you have your own privacy, and you can focus when it comes to a lot of things. So that is fun. Again, living off campus depends on the area that you live in. Again, that is one point I would say. So if you are living in the residence, make sure you do your market research before you move out of the residence. Where do you want to live in North Bay? Choose a house which is closer to your work, is always better, so that you don't spend a lot of time commuting from your work to home and home to work. um, and yeah, so make sure like you live in a good neighborhood is what I suggest.
Awesome. Nelly, let's pass it to you.
Yeah, I didn't get the chance to live in Canadore residence. I lived off campus as well. I also had my cat, so that was a priority for me as well. Um, but I would say there are some benefits for sure for living in residence. It comes furnished. It has everything you need. They have laundry. It's close to the college. There's obviously a lot of other college students there, so um, you can make friends and study buddies in your program and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Awesome.
that's pretty much all I have to add.
Thank you. And Jessica, what do you think?
So I can speak to both. I lived in the domestic residence in Building 19 my first year, and then I've lived off campus for the past 2 years. And residence was nice when you're moving away from home for the first time. I'm from Kingston, and that's about 5 hours south of North Bay. So it was a good transition knowing that I have secure housing, it's safe in residence. And like Nelly had said, they have laundry and all of that sort of stuff there. I will say that the laundry situation can kind of be challenging at times because you have to wait a while for your laundry because you're working with a few hundred students that maybe want to do their laundry at the same time. So finding those nights that it's maybe not as busy, like a Tuesday night, instead of doing it on a Saturday afternoon like everybody else. But that's just something that you'll learn over time. And then for living off campus, my first thing to say is look early. Like if you think that you're looking early and it's May, look earlier. I started looking for my place that I have now in January or February in my first year, and that was before the housing crisis got really bad. So I would just continuously be looking the entire year, and a lot of places in North Bay do have student housing specifically, But then the second step into that is researching your landlord and ensuring that you're going to be treated fairly, they have good communication, and that they aren't going to be taking advantage of you as a student, because unfortunately, that's a lot of the cases with landlords and students, because it's a constant turnover that they tend to like to take advantage of students, and you may not get your worth out of the house for what you're paying. And making sure you're also reading the bylaws on your lease when you're signing that is incredibly important, because it can help you get out of a lot of sticky situations, and then you know your rights going into leasing an apartment. But other than that, I really enjoy living off campus. It gives me a lot more space and I have a lot more freedom, and you also can stay there over the winter break. You don't have to worry about finding alternate accommodations. And for the most part, I have also saved over the past 2 years probably about $4,000 on living expenses by living off campus.
Those are all really great points. Thank you so much, Jessica.
No problem.
Okay, now let's look at clothing, and especially in winter. So what kind of clothing should students wear to attend classes? And let's talk about next semester. So students coming to class on January 8th. So let's see. Britt, would you like to start?
My go-to is to dress comfortably. Uh, you know, I'm in a really laid back program for the most part, in that sense. So, we are always able to dress comfortable. For the winter, get a coat. That's a mandatory thing. It's really cold up here. It can get like up to in the minus 30s, which is chilly to say the least. Um, you know, you can get splash pants, which kind of helps break that wind barrier when it's really chilly. Good boots. Boots are really important. A good hat, some mittens. Um, I know I know when I was, you know, younger, I would say, oh, no, I don't need all those things. But now I'm like dressed up with my hat and my mittens and everything. It does get really cold. Don't let that scare you. It's a really cool experience. After the winter, you're like, wow, I survived that. That's wicked. But yeah, just get a coat, a good coat. You know, you can buy some at Walmart for somewhat cheap, and don't cheap out on a coat, because sometimes that's one thing that you'll get caught somewhere if the bus doesn't show up, if your car breaks down. And if you don't have a good coat or good boots, you're going to get yourself in a pickle, and that's not good. So yeah, just dress comfortably. Sweaters are really good because it gets really cold in the campus and then it gets really hot in the campus. So there's like really, it's like a really weird transition from hot to cold, but just good sweaters, a coat, hat, good boots. Yeah.
Thank you. Chinmay.
Layering is the key, I would say. Layer yourself when it's cold outside. Wear a thermal layer, wear a sweater on top, wear a second sweater on top, and then wear the coat. Is what I'll recommend. If you have to look like a snowman, look like a snowman in the cold. Do not be afraid of not looking like a snowman, because minus 30, minus 40 is not a joke. You will freeze out. Your skin will start to like tear apart, I would say. I've experienced that. If you are not layered enough, you might like start shivering, which is not a good sign when you're outside. um as Britt said, invest in a coat. Don't buy cheap coats, like a sweater or a coat, even a trench coat that's wool. I would recommend is an investment when it comes to the Canadian cold winters. So make sure you get a good coat, good pair of boots. You can have the sweaters and everything, but yeah, um you'll have to, when it's cold outside, you'll have to start layering. You'll have to learn the key of layering, like wearing wool, wearing thermals, wearing a like something that's acrylic in order to release all the sweat and then trap all the heat inside. watch some YouTube videos, you'll get the key to layering and then step outside. Yeah, so you'll have to layer. Layering is the key, I would say.
Okay, so layering is the key word here. Thank you. Let's go to Nelly, if you would like to add something.
Yep. Yeah, just like everyone else said, layering is really important. A good quality coat is really important, but also good quality boots are also really important. Uh, you don't want wet feet. Make sure your boots are waterproof in the winter because wet feet can be the absolute worst.
And Jessica?
Yeah, mine's more program specific. So since I am in the environmental programs, we do go outside quite a bit, and you will hear it prefaced by your professors time and time again about having proper outdoor gear. And as a program specific category, of course, appropriate footwear, so good quality waterproof boots. Nelly made a really good point about you don't want your feet being wet, and that can be a really quick ticket to getting hypothermia. Hypothermia is possible at 10 degrees Celsius, so getting hypothermia at minus 30 is even more risky. And uh, having snow pants when you're in those types of programs, or even if you just like going outside occasionally to go for a hike, can be really beneficial. And then long johns or some sort of like leggings and sweatpants or like a neoprene or merino wool is really good. And then having good quality socks is paramount when it comes to layering in your boots, because you don't want socks that are going to absorb sweat. You want socks that are wicking sweat, because if you're wearing like wool socks, for instance, you're going to create a lot of heat, but that heat has nowhere to escape. So you're just going to overheat and then sweat, and then you can get cold again. And same with wearing a coat. If you're wearing a merino wool or like a nylon, for instance, against your body first, then that sweat is being pulled away from your body, and then you can wear cotton over top of it, and then a wind breaking layer, so that way the wind isn't going through that cotton, but you're also pulling that sweat away from you, and then you can stay warm, and your body has a lot of really good ventilation going on at the same time. But if you're in those program specific areas, um, winter boots, chest waders, and rubber boots are really important. And usually you can get really good deals at Canadian Tire. If you look at their flyers, then you can usually snag something for a pretty good price and relatively good quality.
All right. Choosing the right type of clothing, definitely very important in colder temperatures. Chinmay, did you want to add something?
Oh, just one 2 points actually. So the weather situation in North Bay, and typically you might get or we might get rain after it snows. So it makes everything a slushy outside. You can see brown slush all over. So make sure you get waterproof or water resistant pants, because you do not want your legs to get wet, just because it's everything's wet outside. So waterproof pants, even coats, is something that I would recommend. Since I'm from India, and I think there are quite some of the people watching are from India, I would recommend buying uh, checking pants from Decathlon. They have a wool layer inside, and they are waterproof from outside. It's it's the game changing pants that I have bought. So I would recommend that if you are coming from India.
Okay, our next question, I want to switch back and kind of go back to the topic of part-time work. So, for those of you on the panel that did work part-time while maintaining, your studies and being a student, what was your experience like finding part-time work, either on or off campus? So we'll start with you again, Britt.
Um, I think I say this a lot. When I'm a line cook. So that is a specific skill to have, and a lot of restaurants are looking for line cooks. And it's really, once you know how to do it, it's like universal. You can go anywhere, learn how cook those, make those dishes and then make them. So for me, it wasn't difficult. I went to a new opening restaurant and I got the job the day I had the interview. They were also looking for new staff. So I think I came in at a good time. But if you work in a restaurant, if you have serving experience, line cook experience, dishwashing experience, there's a lot of restaurants in town that are looking for work. So it wasn't super difficult for me outside of like to find a job in town. For school, I work as the CASA student lead. That was offered to me by the First People Center because I worked with them before during the summer. So I was networking the moment I got to school, the moment I started going to classes. I didn't know I was doing this, but I was networking. I was talking to professors. I was talking to faculty. I made my name known so that people could think of me for jobs within the school. I worked as a land camp instructor during the summer, and that was really amazing. I think I talked about that previously, but yeah, so I chose to network and I chose to put my name out there and volunteer and be part of something bigger than just my schooling. And it's been really beneficial for me because I've gotten asked to do jobs at school. I got asked to do this. So yeah, just it's really about networking. It's about putting your name out there, being friendly, being professional, warm and welcoming, and a lot of opportunities kind of come your way once that is established.
Definitely, I agree. Chinmay, what was your experience like finding part-time work?
So as I said, since when I came in, of the first 3 months I did not have a job. Um, I had to find a job which aligned with my program, because as I said earlier, if you're working in some irrelevant field, it will not really make sense apart from just earning money. So it was a bit tough because the job market right now is like difficult for everyone, not just students. It is difficult for everyone. So I would say you might have to spend 3-4 months finding a job. Just a heads up, it is possible. So you'll have to be prepared. You'll have to stand out from other employees or other people who are applying for the job. As Britt said, get your name known in college so that you have more chances of getting employment on the campus. Apart from that, when it comes to off-campus jobs, um, you'll have to stand out in the interviews, especially just because many of you would be students who are just coming after your schooling, or you're just after your undergraduate, so you don't really have the experience in order to get certain jobs. But if you stand out in the interviews and you show them the interest that you want to work for and you want to continue this in your future as well, you have better chances. The thing that happened with me was I was doing logistics and supply chain management. I want to get into the supply chain industry in the future. So there are many different ways I can approach my part-time jobs. There's Canadian Tires, there's Home Hardware, there's Home Depot. These are all supply chain companies. They rely on supply chain. So like approaching them, and then in the interviews, like making sure the manager knows that you're studying supply chain and you want to get into the supply chain industry, and getting this job, let's say at Home Depot, is one of the stepping stone to that. That will uh, like kind of give you an added advantage over the other employees, because that way the manager knows that you'll put in efforts into your work, and it is beneficial for the student as well. So there's a lot of things. Networking again, the professors, again, professors, network with your professors, I would say. Not for the part-time opportunities, but for your future opportunities. Networking with professors. Have a LinkedIn profile, please. Make your LinkedIn profile professional. Network with your professors, talk to them, talk about your future plans, get advice from professors, and then move forward is something I would recommend. um, Other than that, there's smart ways to go about having a part-time job. If let's say, I I thought about this, but if you get a barber's license or a certificate for hair cutting from your country, which is usually a 10-15 day course, and then you come over here and you have your certification and you apply to barber jobs. You'll get the job instantly because they always need staff to work throughout the week, and they pay you good. You get tips on top, just as servers in restaurants. So going about part-time jobs in a smart way is something you can think about.
Definitely. Great points. Nellie, what was your experience like if you did any part-time work while you were a student?
So I only worked as a peer tutor within the college while I was in the program. I didn't have any outside work. So I felt like that was a really great opportunity. It gave me a chance to kind of study myself, but then study with somebody else almost. Like it almost helped my schooling just as well. So I would just say keep an eye on like the college postings. If you are interested in something like peer tutoring, talk to student success, talk to your professors. I also agree with that, like networking with your professors and the faculty. I know my professor has a lot of connections within the community. So if she knew anybody who was looking, she would always let us know. So yeah, keep your eye out on the college positions as well.
Definitely great points. Thanks.
All right, so we have one last question. Um, if you could only give students one piece of advice, what would it be? So let's start again with Britt, perhaps.
That is a hard question to answer. I would say follow a self-care plan, create a self-care plan and follow it. Self-care is really important when you're studying because you put so much energy into what you're learning, and it can be really heavy or it could be really confusing. So just having moments and having days where you have rest days, get enough sleep. That's something that I recommend very much. And I know finals come around and you're awake a lot and you're doing a lot of extra work and getting your assignments done and all these things, but get enough rest, eat properly, find that balance of work, study, and play, because play is really important. Enjoy what you're doing. These are so many more advice than one. Sorry. Yeah, self-care plan. That is the one thing that is a must, really. Things get really hectic, and if you're grounded within yourself, things can be a lot less intense for you. So self-care, self-care, self-care. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important. Thank you very much. Taking care of your health, studying can really, add up and get stressful, right? So it's very good advice. Thank you very much. Chinmay, would you like to?
Yeah. So I don't want to sound selfish or mean, but you're paying the college a huge amount of tuition fee. Avail all the resources that they have. Take part in all and like each and every activity they're giving out for the students. Be it career development. Go to the career development office, talk to Miss Trina and everyone, get your resumes revamped, have your names into the volunteering opportunities, job search opportunities, and things like that. Connect with the sports and wellness department in order to get into sports. Play sports in college. If you're feeling stressed out, as Brett said, sleep and connect with student success services. They'll help you out. So like there's a department for everything if you need it in college. So I would recommend staying very active in college. Like you're not just coming here in order to just study, but you also want to have fun on the side. So be active in college, participate in everything, and be social. Try stepping out of your zone, be social, talk to people, make new friends, go out, have coffee with strangers. That is how you'll improve on your own confidence as well as you make new friends.
Right. Great piece of advice. Thank you very much. Nelly?
Yeah, my piece of advice would be to communicate with your professors. They're really great. Like we had already said before, if you have anything going on, you don't need to give them details about everything going on in your life, but keeping them in the loop if you are going through anything so they can help support you. Um, they are willing to work with you if you're going to be late, if you're missing things for whatever. Just let your professors know, talk to them, communicate with them, and they will help you out.
Perfect. Thank you. So
I have to say, I love all of the advice that you folks gave. It's so nice to hear, like your experience, and just so nice to hear that you've learned that Canadore really does have the supports available for students. Chinmay, what do you want to add? Go ahead.
So yeah, don't be shy. Like each and every student on campus is new as you are. So even they don't know what's going on. So let's say you have an admission problem, go to the admissions department. They don't mind answering questions. You have some questions related to your visa, go to the international department. They have student advisors. So you'll have to be open is another thing. You'll have to talk to people in order to ask them. Don't be shy because it's a college. It's new for all the students that coming in. So and the staff is already there to help you out. So don't be shy in asking questions.